I was in our dining room, which we never used, preferring the comfort and intimacy of the kitchen. Well, at least that's the way it used to be. I would put our work table there. The ornamented table gave plenty of room to organize everything. I was a little obsessed with neatness, I'm afraid, and I really liked the diffused light in the room. She walked in. The new high-heeled shoes she had started wearing recently clattered across the floor, heralding her arrival. She called out to me, but I was right in the middle of something, so I didn't respond until I was done. "I'm here," I called out excitedly. "Can you come in for a minute?" She appeared in the doorway, rolling her eyes. "Well, what now? I have to be somewhere soon." I hugged her, 29 years old, 5'7", 50 pounds, very nicely built. Nice breasts, not big, but very responsive. No kids, so she didn't have to lose weight after giving birth. She was within a pound or so of when I married her 4 years ago. I'd always liked her brown hair, and I was angry when she announced 4 months ago that she was going blonde. It made her look like, I don't know, kind of cheap. But my opinion might be a little biased. "It won't take too long, and besides, I have a feeling your appointment is canceled. Come on, the sooner you do it, the sooner I'll be off your back. And you've been pretty clear lately about where you'd like to keep me." She sighed, rolling her eyes exaggeratedly, sitting down across from me. "Thank you. Like I said, I'll try to be brief. I need you to think and be truthful. This is not a hypothetical question. How much would you value sex in terms of money? More specifically, I mean sex with you. Do you think there are different prices for different acts? I know prostitutes have different prices, and how much call girls charge, I have no idea, but probably a lot more. I need your help to try to establish a point of reference. Research, if you will. Do you think your value is as high as a courtesan or as low as a street whore? Maybe somewhere in the middle. Should I consider intangibles, enthusiasm, skill level, temptations such as lingerie, mood enhancers such as soft lighting, candles, strawberries, chocolates, motel rooms, and the like? This is where I want to get an overall assessment." Her mouth dropped open more and more as my monologue continued. When I paused to give her a chance to speak, her mouth slammed shut. "What are you talking about? It's not funny, Donald. More like stupid." "Well, okay, she called me by my full name. That means she's pissed off, and if I keep this up, she'll go into full bitch mode in a few seconds." "Oh, I agree, Sherry. This is stupid. It's been stupid from the moment you started flirting with Jameson. It's Jameson, isn't it? What a pompous name. He's just a redneck, even in a suit. His drinking buddies call him Jimmy Jam, and now there's a name for you." Her eyes narrowed. I could see the eruption coming. "Come on, Mount St. Helens, blow. Give it a rest about that. I already told you there's nothing between us. I don't even like him that much. Is that what this is about? I swear, if you talk about him again, I'll leave you." I smirked. Jameson, 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 Jimmy Jam Jameson. Sounds like a rapper, doesn't it? Jimmy Jam Jameson, the hillbilly rapper. He could make up rhymes about his pickup truck, get drunk, fuck married women, maybe. I see a real career in his future, big money. Her eyes widened, then narrowed slightly. I think she was beginning to understand. "I'm sorry, Sherry. I lost my train of thought. It won't happen again. Let's get back to the sheep. You know, I didn't want to come here at first, even though I had a good career. But the longer I've been here, the more I like it. It was 22 degrees yesterday. I played golf the last week of February. I can't figure out what's going on with the weather, so I think I'm going to stay regardless of what happens next. You know what I like best about North Carolina? Here you can still sue for alienation of affection. Well, I mean stealing a spouse. It's one of the few remaining states that allows you to do that. It takes a rare set of circumstances to actually get some money, but either way, I think it's a thought. That's why I'm doing all this research. I want to provide a detailed report, full details of the behaviors and their frequency and how I arrived at these numbers. I have some videotapes, some witnesses, basically enough to establish a point of reference. But if you could clarify how much you think a night with you is worth, that would help a lot. Kind of like asking an expert. My lawyer laughed his ass off when I told him what I wanted to do, but he kind of backed it up at the end. Something about precedence. Gee, it might just change the way people file these kinds of lawsuits. More money will change hands, lawyers will be happy, judges will be happy because it will make it much easier to determine monetary awards. So, help me out on this one. If you don't cooperate, my lawyer will put your ass out there on the bench and be happy to sort out your case act by act. That'll be the testimony I'd like to hear. And enjoy the little favors. The meter will stop running the minute you sign the separation and divorce papers. We won't even embarrass you into getting served. Just walk into his office. Look how much money you and Jimmy Jameson will save once you move in together on gas and motel rooms. On the other hand, keep in mind that he has a spare bedroom if he can talk his wife into it. Oh, and I shared my research with her and she's going to use it in her case against you, so maybe you can get together somewhere else. We'll even split the attorney's fees with her. I looked down at Sherry lying unconscious on the dining room floor. She hadn't fallen. It was more like a balloon losing air as she slid to the floor. So much for the expert counselor. Never mind. The documents are pretty self-explanatory. I printed out my research, put it in a nice folder, and put it on her chest. She'll see it as soon as she wakes up. Right now, me, my lawyer, and Mrs. Jimmy Jam are meeting for dinner at Pig Heaven, best barbecue place in town. Another thing I love about the South, I hope Sherry realizes that once the door slams shut behind her tonight, she can't come back. The locks will be changed. Heck, it's gotten to the point where it's no longer possible to enjoy a good meal. Sherry had called 6 times already. I'd disconnected her. Mrs. Jimmy Jam was just in the middle of one of her hilarious stories about her errant husband. Said she was thinking of writing a book, Life with a Male Dog. Apparently, Sherry is not his one and only. Mrs. J said she would give me their addresses so I could share my formula with their husbands after mine was ready. We don't want too many people shaking the tree at the same time, do we? I tuned into the story again. Of course, it wasn't that simple. Sherry didn't want a divorce. She was so apologetic, and that she said it would never happen again, that she had learned her lesson. She fought for 4 months before she gave up, signed the papers, and came home. Jameson got a lot of publicity when the trial began, and the judge, an old-school weirdo with 2 ex-wives to his credit, allowed me to testify. The court shook with laughter while he tried to become invisible. He was actually a fairly wealthy man, owned half of a car dealership, and I actually got some money, even more than I thought possible. Mrs. Jameson ended up getting the house and a 4th share of the car dealership. Once we were done, she turned my research over to the other 3 husbands, and it looked like before it was over, he'd be lucky to still have a job as a car salesman rather than a share in the dealership. I stayed away from women for almost 2 years before I ran into a feisty little redneck redhead, a widow with 2 sons, ages 8 and 6. I coached her kids in basketball, which a friend had talked me into, and though we didn't hit it off right away, we gradually grew to like each other. She mocked the way I treated her in public, opening doors, serving her a chair in a restaurant, the way I always deferred to her in social situations. She poked fun at it until on the 3rd date I snapped. You don't like being treated like a lady, fine, but if you date me, know that I will treat you that way. If you want to be treated like a thing, go back to the rednecks. Her eyes went wide, but she modestly waited for me to open the car door as we drove away and remained silent on the way home. Afterward, she apologized when I walked her to the door. I explained as best I could. Look, this is the way I was raised. My grandfather was old-fashioned, saying treat them like a lady in public, like a partner in private, and, well, the rest was about the bedroom. Her eyes seemed to glow in the moonlight. And if I were your woman, how would you treat me in the bedroom? I would treat you like the hot little thing you are, which I think you are, and fuck your brains out. Not for power, not for dominance, but because I'd want to be the best lover you've ever had, so you'd always be satisfied. I don't think we're there yet, though. You know what your biggest mistake is, honey? You thinking too much. She said this while pushing me through the door. The next morning, we were late picking up the boys. Her mom looked at us and smirked silently. 8 months later, when we sat them down at the table and explained that I would be their new daddy in 4 months, they were overjoyed. We had developed an easy, teasing relationship, and I told the oldest that he would be carrying the ring. The younger one wanted to know what his role would be. Well, we're gonna need a flower girl. Mommy, Daddy wants me to be the flower girl. Well, honey, I bet you'd look really cute in a dress. He looked like he was about to cry, so I picked him up and put him on my lap. You know we're just kidding, son. How about you be the ring bearer and your brother be the best man? How about that? That was fine with them, and that's exactly what we did. 10 years later, I was happy to hear them complain about me making them take their younger sisters to dance classes and scouts. I never saw Sherry again. My older brother said she got married again, but the marriage didn't last long. After that divorce, she kind of just disappeared. It was too bad for her second too, since they lived out of my state. We were at a party right after the wedding, and one of her friends told her what I did. She was quiet on the way home, and after we got into bed, she asked me how much I thought she was worth. Honey, there is more value in you when you just give me a peck on the cheek than there would be if my ex was worth $1 million and we were just living in bed. No unit of measurement has been invented to describe your value to me. Don't forget our boyfriends, and you don't have enough zeros to put behind that. Good answer, she said through unexpected tears, sliding her body on top of mine. But I expect you to show me how much you appreciate me often. Very often. That's how the girls came to be. Twins. I'll never get out of debt.